I'm just joking. I'm not gonna make you sit through a video like that. No worries. Hello and welcome to the video. We all know what we're here for, so like my main man Li Shang says, let's get down to business and defeat the Huns, baby. One of my favorite artists of all time, and one who's had a particular amount of influence on me as an artist and in the art world and street art world in general, is named Banksy. For those of you who don't know, Banksy is an English street artist, political activist, and part-time director who's managed to keep his name and identity unknown for his entire career. He's done a lot of crazy things in his over 30-year career as an artist, but more specifically today, I want to talk about his exit to the gift shop era, where I personally think that Banksy's work and his style is at its absolute best. Speaking of Banksy's style was surprisingly simple yet instantly recognizable, always consisting of either basic stencils or poster work, using basic color palettes like black, white, gray, sometimes adding a strong primary color to give some emphasis to the piece of commentary he's trying to make. The message on Banksy's piece was always different, and especially to his early part of his career, he was like many street artists, which were just putting up tags to show that he's been there, and one of my personal favorite pieces is the crappy ad here. A lot of his pieces became quite political or heavily inspired by social commentary, sometimes talking about issues with cops, sometimes talking about slavery in other countries, and generally how we need to work on things in the world. During his exit through the gift shop phase, you didn't see it as much in the film, but during that same period he did a lot of pieces while working in London, and in London he wasn't afraid to speak his mind about the city. In a lot of ways, the style and message of Banksy's work was very similar to that of the rise of dubstep. Now, when I say that, I'm not talking about the North American bro step like this, although I will admit I'm still a big fan of. I'm talking about that old mid-2000s cokey, scream, banga, zombie that sounded like this. Banksy's work at this time, like dubstep, was a perfect call and response to the flashy, eccentric look of the 90s and now showing the 2000s, where London is a much more decaying, sad, and unhappy city, where there was no real strong identity at that point. Even more poetically yet painfully, similar to the rise of dubstep and then its eventual appropriation by North America, the same thing kind of happened with Banksy and his unexpected yet direct influence of Mr. Brainwash. Now, Mr. Brainwash is a problematic artist who used street art as a guise to wholesale rip off other artists' designs, but depending on what side of art history you're on, one of the most famous, or more realistically infamous, things that he did was he would create hundreds of pieces of artwork that were borderline identical to each other except with small minor detail changes, so they're all technically unique on their own, and created a mass earning off of his first show. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I've never heard of history repeating itself before. Speaking of Banksy's work had taken on many different forms. His fame, public validation, and commercial success had helped pave the way for many street artists to emerge on the global art market. This impact was even coined as the Banksy effect. His work was a monumental shift in style in the turn of the century in the early 2000s, but on top of that, his work was one of countless resets in the art world, showing that you don't need the biggest and flashiest way of doing things as long as you have an important message and some way to paint it. Now, in addition to all of Banksy's famous works that were showcased throughout Exit to the Gift Shop, I also count the people that he showcased as part of his influence. One of the coolest examples is that in the documentary, Banksy chose to feature Shepard Fairey. Now, you might not be familiar with who Shepard Fairey is. As you can kind of see, he just looks like a guy. But I think you will definitely recognize one of his most famous works because he is the guy behind Obey. You might be able to recognize one of his other pieces, which was the classical red and blue posters of Barack Obama when he was a senator trying to become elected as president. Hey y'all, surprise intermission. While I was starting to cut down this video and keep only the important parts, my computer had stopped working to all video editing softwares whatsoever, all three of them that I have. So I'm really sorry, but this is a really awkward segue into saying that the video is about to end. I hope you enjoyed this video and this stupid ass green screen format that I've always wanted to do. It's just fun for me. It was great talking to you and telling you about this. Go have a good rest of your day. Go paint a wall. Please don't do that. Yeah, thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a good rest of your day. Peace.